Hi guys, Mark Dawes, NFPS Limited here once again, and I'm just doing this video to follow up on a video I did a while ago about the use of force on children, and particularly any use of force that may cause discomfort, harm or pain, because there's a drive at the moment by a particular lobbying group to ban, or to make illegal, should I say, any technique, restraint technique with a child that causes pain. Now, I did a video on that, and we actually had about 3,500 views on Facebook alone, God knows how many on YouTube. But following that, I actually wrote to the government. And I wrote to them and I got a reply. So I want to read you what I wrote, and then I'll read you their reply. And this is what I wrote, and I wrote to them on July the 3rd. And I said, "Dear Sir, Madam, I write to you concerning the following paragraph in the Guide to the Children's Homes Regulations, including Quality Standards 2015, namely Quality Standards 7, brackets 9.51, which states, restraint that deliberately inflicts pain cannot be proportionate and should never be used on children in children's homes. The above statement is contrary to provision provided by common and statute law. In addition, there may be extreme or exceptional occasions where cogent reasons exist where a restrictive intervention, one that may cause discomfort, harm or even pain, may be necessary in the best interest of the child to protect the child from a greater harm. Also, if a harm were allowed to occur, which could have been prevented by the use of a more restrictive intervention, because of this statement, that could amount to negligence and, in a serious case, possibly even willful neglect, see Section 20 of the Criminal Justice in Courts Act 2015, as well as a breach of Article 2, brackets 1 of the Human Rights Act 1998, should a death occur. Therefore, please advise who would be liable if Quality Standard 7, brackets 9.51, close brackets, was followed to the letter and a resultant harm occurred." Now, as usual with government, it takes them a while to reply, but they did. And this is the reply I just got, which I know some of you are going to be screaming at me down the camera at this one, particularly you, Bungy Williams, even though you're retired, because you know this stuff. You know this already, so I'm teaching those of you that know this how to suck eggs. But the important part about this is there are still people out there following guidance that isn't law. But let me read you what they sent anyway. It says, "Dear Mr. Dawes, thank you for your email to the Department of Education regarding sections of the Guide to the Children's Homes Regulations, including the Quality Standards 2015, brackets of the guidance, close brackets, relating to restraint. Your query has been passed to me as a member of the team responsible for children's social care policy. The guidance and regulations for children's homes are designed to help children's homes implement regulations effectively and provide the highest quality of care and safeguarding to a group of highly vulnerable young people. Paragraph 9.51 of the guidance must be read in context with the remainder of that section and the Children's Homes Regulations 2015, brackets 2015 regulations, close brackets, as a whole. It is important to note that the prohibition on using force that causes pain does not prevent restraint where it is deemed necessary and appropriate. Restraint is defined in Regulation 2, brackets 1, of the 2015 regulations as being the use of force or restricting liberty of movement. Regulation 20 of the 2015 regulations sets out the circumstances when restraint may be used, which includes in order to prevent injury to any person, serious damage to property, or to prevent a child from absconding. Paragraph 9.50 of the guidance confirms that where restraint includes the use of force, that the force must be no more than is necessary and should be applied in a proportionate way. This is described as being the minimum amount of force needed to avert injury or serious damage to property for the shortest possible time. This is consistent with the lawful use of force against another person and strikes an appropriate balance between permitting the use of force where necessary and avoiding it being used inappropriately. Paragraph 9.55 of the guidance is clear that restraint carries risks, including physical injury, but that this must be considered very carefully before restraining a child. This acknowledges that pain may result from a restraint, however, it cannot be the primary purpose of using force. With regards to the question of who might be considered liable in the event of harm, where the guidance and the legislation is followed, we do not think it would be helpful or appropriate to speculate on liability in theoretical circumstances. I hope you find the above information helpful, etc., etc., etc. So, what does that tell us? Well, it tells us nothing new. It tells us what all of us, particularly those of us in the NFPS family, already know. But providing we use force that's reasonable in the circumstances, and we use it to prevent harm to an individual or another, or to prevent serious damage to property, and that reasonable force is necessary in the circumstances and proportionate, that's all we need to do. So the guide to the regulations is actually a little bit of a red herring, because it's actually thrown a curveball in there that's confusing a lot of people. But here's a question that I'd like some of you to think about, actually, particularly those of you commissioning training. If you follow the guidance and you say we will not use any technique that may cause discomfort, harm or pain, and omit that from a training syllabus and operational use, and an injury or a result occurs that could have been prevented by the use of a more restrictive technique, then there's a liability associated with that. Now, the Department for Education are not going to speculate on that liability because they say it is theoretical. Legally, it's not theoretical, it's called an omission. That means we've been negligent. Also, if serious harm occurs that could have been prevented, there's a potential there for willful neglect. And that is a very, very serious offence. Anyway, I just want to leave you with that thought. I just wanted to let you know that we've had the response from the government, and that's the response we've had. And for those of you that are training with us on the Restraint Instructors course in September, we're looking forward to meeting you there, and we'll take you through that and a lot more besides. And for those of you attending the refresher on the 19th of September, we'll be going through this on there as well, plus a few other things, but I'll do another video on that shortly. Guys, thanks ever so much for listening, and I'll speak to you soon.